Red Lips in a Little Black Dress is literally a platform for women. And when I say women, women of any color, women of any race, trans, whatever.
Self-identified.
Self-identified. And the space actually came about due to us being sheltered in place and being in quarantine. Red Lips in a Little Black Dress actually was formulated by a really good friend of mine named Aretha Lewis. And after she did the first setting in May, she asked if I would join her in partnership with Red Lips in a Little Black Dress. And I was super excited to do so just because it gave us something to do in the pandemic. And we started doing it consistently. She had the first one in May, and then from there, it's matriculated all the way into now, which is quite funny because we're still sheltered in place. But due to Red Lips in a Little Black Dress, it has opened up so many opportunities for Black women to engage and get together and have conversation. The conversations go from small talk about like what did you do for self-care today to really broad topics as far as mental health. We've had a mental health segment. We've had segments on how you care and show up for yourself in the midst of a pandemic. We've had fun segments where we've had movie nights, just an array of different things to really push Black women and women of color to celebrate and love on themselves and figure out how to matriculate not only through the pandemic, but through everyday life.
So is that the mission?
Oh my goodness. The mission statement literally...
You don't have to tell me. Okay. What's the point?
Okay, so the vision and the purpose of Red Lips is literally to, if I had to sum it up, is to push women to do their work.
Okay.
And their work consists of whatever, they need to do. But it's literally to open up opportunities for women economically, spiritually, emotionally, financially. We talk a lot about social justice. I mean, just an array of different topics. And all of this just allows the woman to be just that, the woman. Whatever she shows up with, however she is, not conforming to societal standards, open about, their sexuality, everything. And it's really a safe space for women to embrace what they show up with.
So how does a woman figure out what work she needs to do?
I think that has come up in a lot of conversation, and we've been doing a lot of series around mental health, right? Okay. So I think when you have conversations with people, certain things stand out to you or they stick out to you, and it may be based off of your childhood, it may be based off of where you are right now in life. I think to a certain extent, we all know what work to do. And I think it's the things that you avoid the most, if that makes sense. The things that come up the most and you be like, no, I'm not really wanting to go.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe that's not the conversation that I want to get into. That is where I like to say your meat and potatoes are when it comes to your work. And I think, identifying, acknowledging and naming that, okay, this is something that I have an issue with. This is something that I shy away from. And standing in it, and sometimes even sitting in it, even when it's difficult, that is where your work is. Yeah. That's where you need to do the work.
That's great. So outside of the conversations, do you all provide any type of tools? And I'm mostly asking because I know you love journaling. And that's the first thing that I thought of.
Yeah, so we actually had a segment last night where we're consistently talking about, like I said, mental health and self-care, how you show up for yourself, how you take care of yourself. And yes, we have had plenty of segments where we've brought on mental health professionals.
Nice.
Also gave tools and resources about what we do as acts of self-care. As you know, I am an avid journaler. Last night I was given some tips about how you can practice mindfulness for people who were saying that they struggle with certain anxieties or living in their head. But yes, there are a lot of tools, both from professionals and non-professionals, people who are literally just doing their work every day that are sharing, hey, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert, this is what I do and this is what I find effective for me. So yes, there's a lot of things that we talk about personally. If you want me to get into some of the things that I do for me to practice self-care.
Oh yeah, let's share.
I love to journal.
Yeah.
Right? That's like number one on my list. I know some people gonna find this a little funny, but I like to clean.
Me too.
Well, I'm not surprised, especially because we're Capricorns.
Exactly.
But cleaning my space, it helps me to just literally find my zen. It helps me to feel like I'm compartmentalizing things that may have been scrambled or out of the way. I love grounding myself. One of my favorite grounding rituals is literally standing on the concrete barefoot. Like, I feel like it does something for my energy, for my aura. Anytime I can get some sun, I will definitely, I will sit in the sun for at least 20 minutes. That feels really healing to me. And then I love to read.
Good.
I love to read, and I always read a fiction and a nonfiction book at the same time, because I feel like once I'm done with reality in the world, I can go to, you know, that fantasy world and live there for a while, and it literally just helps me escape from whatever I'm dealing with at the moment, if I'm being avoidant and not wanting to deal with it.
That's a good balance.
Yes, and any kind of aromatherapy, a good candle, you know, a nice bath bombs, you know how I feel about that. And I try my hardest to take myself on a date once a month, even in the pandemic. So if I had to put my mask on and take a little trip and walk through Target or Marshall's, I'll always buy stuff. But just to get out and spend time with me and love on me, then that definitely helps me as well.
Ooh, I love it. I love self-care. So the things that I do, every Friday I buy myself flowers. I want my flowers now. I don't want to wait until I'm dead. So I pick out the flowers that are most beautiful to me. I dance every day. Dancing is my first love, and it makes me so happy. I meditate every morning. Before I do anything, before I get out of the bed, I meditate for at least 20 minutes. They're usually guided meditations, which are free, and I found them online. I've just created a playlist for myself, and whatever I'm feeling, I go to that meditation. Cleaning for sure. If I have a clean, organized space, my brain doesn't feel cluttered.
It feels so much better.
Exactly. My energy doesn't feel all over the place. Something that I started, I want to say in 2019, is saying no and no thank you.
I love you for
Not
that.
feeling like I have to say yes to everyone and please everyone. And that's allowed me to really prioritize my needs and what I want, and pouring into my cup first. I have a long list.
And you should.
You know, like tarot. I love the moon.
Yes, I love your segments.
Yes, my little moon upload. I love sitting in the sun, like talking to friends, like being with loved ones. I have a long list.
And it's good to have a long list, because you can filter through it and decide what you need in the moment. Okay, I want to do that. I don't want to do this. And it doesn't become, it's a ritual, right? But it doesn't become routine. You can always switch it up, which is what I love about different ideas of self-care.
So, Cece, in talking about self-care, and I so appreciate that we have a long list, it makes me think about therapy. Like, therapy has been life-changing for me. Like, I don't think of it as taboo, and honestly, if I can gift the world one thing, it would be therapy.
Oh, if only we could give the world therapy and they would take it. Right? Just a very transparent moment. I started going to therapy maybe about 6 months ago. And I felt like I needed to go to therapy, not just in the midst of the pandemic, but there were a lot of what I consider to be shifts that happened in my life. And I am very good at counseling myself, which is not always the best thing, because once I come up with a scenario in my head, and I'm like, well, you know, I didn't talk it out in my head, and it worked for me. I didn't respond, but you know, and this makes sense for me, so this is what I'm going along with. And I had to realize that some of that thinking was so toxic. Like it was not healthy for me. It was not healthy for my environment. It was not healthy for the people that I was engaging with. And on Red Lips, we have plug therapy a lot, because there are a ton of women that show up every Friday that are like literally doing their work. And when I say doing their work, they're finding ways and tools to cope with whatever it is that they're dealing with. But they've also started going to therapy, right? And in finding a therapist, you literally find someone who helps you to strategize, to think about it, and to figure out, okay, if it's a hurdle, how do I get over it? You know, if it's a conflict, how do I address it? And it's not you, what I consider to be counseling yourself and coming up with the narrative that best fits you. You know, you literally pay your therapist to tell you the truth. And in most cases, we, even in, you know, cases with our own self, we'll lie to ourselves. So I am an advocate for therapy. I don't believe it's taboo either. I'm definitely an advocate for therapy for Black and brown people.
Oh, yeah.
And I know growing up, especially from a cultural perspective, for me, I grew up in the church. So a lot of the times it's like, oh, you don't need therapy. Go pray about it. Take it to God. He'll figure it out. He'll work it out. And I tell people all the time, God helps those who help themselves, right? And one of my good friends, Aretha, who I share Red Lips and Little Black Dress with, she said last night, she was saying, you know, if your knee hurts and it doesn't stop, you go see a doctor. Right? If something is ailing you, if you need medication, you go to the doctor, you get a prescription, you go to the pharmacy. It's the same thing with your mental health, right?
I love that.
If your brain is hurting, right, and you acknowledge that your brain is hurting, you pray about it, and God gives you a sign or a vision and say, hey, call this number, you better call it, you know? You better
before it gets worse.
Exactly, before it gets worse. And we had an analogy as well about maintenance. Like, you know, you buy a new car. In the beginning, that car runs fine. You know, it does everything you need it to do, but eventually, after wear and tear, after some mileage, after taking some trips, you need an oil change. You need, you know, all of your fluids changed out, flushed out. You need a tune-up. It's the same thing when it comes to your mental health, right? And sometimes, if you ignore things and you allow them to fester, you know, you break down. Same thing with your car. If you hear something and you're just like, no, I don't have time for that today. My checking account don't seem like it needs any more problems, so guess what? I'm just going to leave that alone. Eventually, you're going to find yourself on the side of the road. And I feel like that's the same thing with mental health. You can ignore something for so long, but eventually it's going to sit at your feet until you decide to do something about it. Therapy is definitely something that I'm an advocate for. I love it. And let me say this. It does not mean that all of your problems go away. Right? We talked about that last night. It does not mean that once you start going to therapy, then you no longer have anger issues, you no longer hold resentment, you no longer still struggle with childhood trauma. All of those things are there, right? But it gives you a perspective on what you want to tackle, how you want to go about it, how you stop the cycle of consistently ignoring things. That's what therapy does for you. And it pushes you to do your own work, even when you're not meeting with your therapist.
Exactly.
So
I'm so happy that you brought that up, because I remember I've been going to therapy for 2 years, and I was like, okay, when I'm fixed, then I can stop, right? And even in my good moments, I'm like, I still want it. Like, I still need it. Like, that's my sacred time with someone who doesn't judge me, and they're very neutral, and they're not biased, and I'm like, no, I need to stick with this, even in the good times.
And that's the thing. Your therapist is a professional, right? So they've learned how to show up with what I call that stealth mode, you know, face, where it's just like, and you don't feel judgment. You feel like you could, you know, I hate the cliche, like how you're in the office and you're laying down and they're having a notebook. It's not like that, but you do feel like you could be that open with them, like you can relax. Like, I've been in therapy for 6 months, and I call my therapist, I gave her a nickname already. You know, I call her Lo, and I'm like, you know, and I feel that comfortable enough with her to do that. Of course, I asked, but you know, you find space within that person to share, and that way, when you do become comfortable with them, and you know that they're going to be honest with you, it doesn't sting as much. You know, opposed to if I was having a conversation with a good friend, and because they're my good friend, I'm already kind of looking for them to be on my side. To be honest about it. Like,
it's so true.
Let me get your perspective. Knowing that you still want them to gravitate towards what it is that you're saying. Your therapist is going to give it to you cut and dry. And that's what you need. You need somebody to be like, here's your mirror, look at it.
Exactly.
And let's do the work.
I love that. I just had that conversation with my therapist. I was like, you know, there's something going on, and I didn't want to go directly to my friends because they're going to be like mama bears. They're going to be like wanting to protect Barbie and tell me like, you know, the other person is wrong. And I was like, let me journal. And then I'm going to talk to my therapist, and then I'll talk to my friends.
There you go.
So it's not that my friends are no longer included, but I have a different route now.
And that's the route that you need to take, because, let me say that, that's part of the reason why it took me so long to get a therapist, because I've already, half of the time I was like, I'm right already. I already know I am. Don't let me bring my friends into the scenario. And they hyping you up. I'm like, you're fine. And it's like, what do I need a therapist for? My crew.
This is for free.
So the people that I show up with every day, my clique, my circle, my tribe, they man already told me I'm doing right. Knowing, can I curse?
Yeah.
Knowing damn well that I'm wrong, you know? So
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. Most definitely. So yeah, try therapy. Okay? It works. Yes. It works. I don't know who's hearing that. Yes.
What is your hopes for Red Lips in the future?
I think I'm gonna say from what I think me and my partner want, and then what I desire for Red Lips. So in doing this, we hope that the platform grows, of course. So more people are, exposed to Red Lips, Little Black Dress. They get to figure out what it is. They get to come for themselves, get to experience it. Yeah. But also that you do your work.
Yes. I
think that's the biggest component, is that we shed light on so many things, not just mental health, but we talk about a lot, but we talked about within the last 2 weeks the whole perception of the strong Black woman, yes. Right? And how we really need to kill that narrative.
I was just saying that a few days ago to a friend.
Yeah, because we have created in our mind that we must wear and weigh down ourselves with so much hardship, because culturally that's where we come from. And because we do it so well, definitely not going to take that, we do it so well. And I think about the quote that says, just because I wear well doesn't mean it's not heavy, right? Mm-hmm. So our goal is to get women to normalize that it's okay to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. It's okay to practice self-care. It's okay to aid yourself in mental health. Yeah. And it's okay, like you said, to say no and to say no thank you.
Right.
So really pushing the woman forward to say, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. This is what I accept. This is what I enjoy.
Yeah.
That, not so much.
Right.
And I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. And I'm unapologetic about not doing it. And then finding what you love and literally knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
Like doing it, putting it all into it, owning it. This is me. I'm doing it, and I'm fierce as hell in a red lip, in a black dress, and I'm showing up, and it's like, you see that MAC commercial, or that Maybelline commercial, and the lady is applying her lips and she walk in and she's strutting
fierce,
and we're fierce like that in every aspect of our lives. So my goal is that through this platform, like I said, it grows, more people are exposed to it, but also that it pricks you just a little bit to think about what you want out of life, not your husband, not what you want to do for your kids, not what you want to be as the matriarch or the person, that holds things together. What do you want for yourself? And how do you make that a priority?
Right.
Not without including your family, not without including your husband, but making sure that you are a part of the equation as well. Because in my experience and what I've run into, even at the ripe age of 33, is that so many of us, even myself included, have decided to make everybody else happy. And then in making them happy, you're like, oh, if they're happy, I'm happy. Yeah, but what about you?
Right.
What do you like?
And why are you not first?
And why? That part. Yeah. That part. And there was a quote that we talked about last night on Red Lips, and it says, basically, because I don't know it verbatim, but it was basically saying, like, including me does not mean including you. And me saying me too does not mean no, not you. Just me add me into the equation. And I feel like as women, and especially as Black women and women of color, we have forgot to add ourselves into the equation. And even if we do, if you think about a pie, let's say 1/4, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else have a bigger piece.
If you add it all.
Yeah, and even if you got a 1/4 of the pie, you're gonna slice yours in half just to make sure that somebody else is accommodated.
Yeah.
But in the long run, what does that leave you? And what does that do for you?
Very little.
Yeah.
So, where can everyone find you all?
So we have a few platforms. You can find us on Facebook at Red Lips in a Little Black Dress. You can find us on Instagram at Red Lips in a Little Black Dress. And then you can find us on Twitter at RLXLVD. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited to spread this good
Please, yes. Like it hasn't been a year yet.
Okay.
But we've grown tremendously. There are what I like to call the Red Lip Faithfuls, our tribe that literally shows up. We used to be every Wednesday. During the new year, we transitioned to every Friday. We've had some newcomers. You could like literally click the hashtag, which is hashtag RLLBD, and see what we have going on, see what we're doing. And we're just hopeful. And we know that it will happen because we are consistent, you know, and like I said, it's a beautiful platform. Everybody who's come on has always said how much they enjoy it. A ton of people have come back. We love to plug businesses. We give anybody a chance to shine. You got something going on, tell us about it. We're going to plug it for you.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure that people show up and help you out. We're going to support each other.
I love it.
So literally, pull up. We love to have you. We would love to have you on RLLBD for sure.
Love it. Thanks, Cece.